You dare threaten the Galactic Council with memes? High Counselor Zex Variax's tentacles rippled with indignation, their bioluminescent patches flashing warning patterns of deep crimson and acid yellow. Not threatening, Your Excellency, just sharing. Ambassador Sarah Chen maintained her pleasant smile, though anyone familiar with human expressions might have noticed it didn't quite reach her eyes. We thought your species might appreciate our traditional forms of diplomatic communication. The massive holographic display behind her continued cycling through what the Council species could only describe as an incomprehensible barrage of images, each more bizarre than the last. There was something about a small Earth creature, apparently called a doge, making peculiar statements about warfare. Another featured a primitive drawing of a human face labeled Troll Face with the caption, "You mad bro?" Several counselors had already excused themselves, citing sensory overload. This is how you respond to our ultimatum? Zex Variax's translators struggled to convey the mix of outrage and bewilderment in their harmonics. We demand your immediate surrender and submission to Galactic Council authority, and you reply with cultural exchange, Sarah offered helpfully. We humans believe that understanding breeds friendship, and what better way to understand humanity than through our art? In the observer's gallery, First Contact Specialist Dr. James Martinez buried his face in his hands, though his shoulders shook with what might have been either laughter or sobs. Possibly both. The betting pool back on Earth about humanity's first official response to alien threats had been fierce, but weaponized shitposting hadn't even made the list. The council chamber erupted into chaos as the next image appeared. A crudely edited photo of Zex Variax themselves, adorned with what appeared to be sunglasses, and the text, "Deal with it." "This is an outrage!" The Mantiloid representative's translator crackled with static as they chittered in fury. You were warned of the consequences of defiance. The combined might of 17 spacefaring civilizations stands ready to crush your single world. Sarah's smile widened just a fraction. Oh, about that. While we've been having this lovely chat about human internet culture, I should mention that Operation Know You is already complete. A new set of images appeared on the display, these far more serious in nature. Tactical readouts showed the positions of the Council's gathered warfleets, all of which were now surrounded by significantly larger formations of ships that seemed to have appeared from nowhere. You see, Sarah continued, her tone still conversational, humans have this funny habit of preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. When we detected your first probes entering our solar system, we figured it was only a matter of time before someone came knocking. The visible colonies and infrastructure you've been monitoring, that's barely a tenth of what we've actually built in the last century. She gestured to the readouts. Those ships you're seeing? They've been there the whole time, running silent with our latest stealth systems. We call it the Space Force Ghost Division. Another meme reference, by the way. I'd be happy to explain that one later. The chamber had gone deathly quiet. Even Zex Variax's bioluminescence had dimmed to a stunned pale gray. But surely... The Mantiloid representative's voice had lost its edge of certainty. Our intelligence suggested your species only achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. Oh, that's absolutely correct, Sarah agreed cheerfully. We did, and then we got really busy. You see, there's this concept in human military history called rapid force projection, when combined with another human tradition we call paranoid overengineering. Well, she gestured at the display again. Let's just say we've been productive. But the resources required... Zex Variax seemed to be having trouble processing the situation. The industrial capacity... Remember those memes I showed you earlier? Sarah's expression turned thoughtful. There's actually a point to them beyond diplomatic trolling. They're examples of how humans process information and share ideas. We take concepts, we remix them, we spread them, we improve them, and we do it fast. The same principle applies to our engineering, our manufacturing, our military doctrine. We iterate, we adapt, we overcome. She paused, then added, there's another human saying, fuck around and find out. Consider the last hour a practical demonstration of both parts of that equation. The chamber erupted again, but this time with a very different energy. Representatives huddled together, frantically consulting their devices and advisors. The tactical displays continued to show the overwhelming human fleet presence, while the meme presentation had shifted to something involving a dancing cartoon cat with a rainbow trail. Now then, Sarah continued, pulling up a chair and making herself comfortable. Let's talk about peaceful cooperation and cultural exchange. I have several thousand years of human memes to share, and I'm sure you have equally fascinating cultural touchstones we could learn from. For instance, I'm particularly interested in those lovely bioluminescent patterns, Counselor ZX Variax. Have you ever considered their potential applications in rave culture? The next 6 hours of the emergency council session would later be described by historians as either the most bizarre or most brilliant first contact negotiation in known space, depending on who you asked. The fact that it ended with 3 council species requesting DJ recommendations and Zex Variax sporting a custom-made deal-with-it headband probably says everything you need to know about humanity's diplomatic style. When asked later about the reasoning behind the unusual approach, Ambassador Chen would simply smile and reference yet another ancient human meme. Modern problems require modern solutions. The Galactic Council would eventually establish a dedicated department for human meme analysis and cultural translation. Its official designation was the Bureau of Terrestrial Interactive Media and Expressions, but everyone just called it the Department of, did they just? Yes. Yes, they did. And that, as they say, was just the beginning. 3 months later. You're telling me, Zex Variax said slowly, their bioluminescence cycling through patterns of disbelief, that the entire confrontation was orchestrated to introduce the concept of memes to the Council, because your cultural analysts predicted it would lead to faster integration and understanding between our species. Sarah Chen, now officially appointed as Earth's permanent ambassador to the Galactic Council, didn't even try to hide her grin this time. We prefer to call it strategic cultural engineering through controlled chaos theory. That's a pro-gamer move? Sarah suggested innocently. Zex Variax's translator crackled with what might have been a laugh. Their tentacles had already started forming the gesture that human xenolinguists had dubbed the alien facepalm. The worst part, they admitted, is that it worked. The latest statistics show interspecies communication efficiency has improved by 300% since the introduction of what you call reaction images. Memes find a way, Sarah said sagely. Now, about that proposal for a cross-species TikTok equivalent. Zex Variax's bioluminescence flashed in what had recently been classified as the alien equivalent of YOLO. The rest, as they say, is history. Very weird, very human history. 6 months after first contact. And that's how humanity accidentally created the first cross-species viral dance challenge. Dr. James Martinez explained to the packed auditorium at the newly established Institute of Xenocultural Studies. The holographic display behind him showed footage of various council species attempting their own versions of the Humanity Flex Challenge, with varying degrees of success and anatomical possibility. But sir, a young Centaurian student raised their gravitational manipulation appendage. Wasn't it dangerous to risk galactic war over entertainment? James smiled, remembering Sarah's expression during that first council meeting. You're thinking about it backwards. We didn't risk war over entertainment. We prevented war through cultural integration. There's an old human saying, a person who can laugh with you can't easily fight you. The display shifted to show statistical analyses. In the 6 months since Operation No You, we've seen a 500% increase in cross-species cultural exchange, a 750% rise in cooperative technological development, and perhaps most importantly, a 1200% surge in interspecies meme creation. Another appendage raised, this one belonging to a Mantiloid exchange student. But the military threat was real, yes? The Ghost Fleet? Oh, absolutely. James nodded. That's the beauty of humanity's approach. We believe in peace through superior firepower and superior mimetic warfare. Speaking of which, the display changed again, showing the latest sensation sweeping the galaxy. A video of High Counselor ZX Variax performing what could only be described as a tentacle-based interpretation of the Macarena, complete with bioluminescent light show. This, James gestured to the display, has more diplomatic value than 1,000 traditional negotiations. Why? Because it humanizes, or perhaps I should say personizes, authority figures across species boundaries. It's hard to maintain artificial barriers when you're all making fools of yourselves together. In the back of the auditorium, a small group of artificial intelligence observers, or as they preferred to be called, digital sapients, were frantically processing the implications. Their internal networks lit up with analyses and predictions, eventually reaching a fascinating conclusion. Humans hadn't just introduced new methods of communication to the galaxy. They'd fundamentally altered the very nature of interspecies relations. One of the digital sapients raised their holographic hand. Query. Does this mean the reported human phrase, "hold my beer and watch this," should be classified as a diplomatic protocol rather than a warning sign? The entire auditorium erupted in laughter. Even the AIs, who had recently mastered the art of comedic timing through careful study of human memes. Yes and no, James replied, wiping tears from his eyes. Let's just say there's a reason the new Galactic Council chamber includes both a formal meeting space and what humans would recognize as a combination nightclub and meme museum. 1 year after first contact. The annual Galactic Cultural Exchange Festival was in full swing, and humanity's contribution was, predictably, causing beautiful chaos. You're telling me, the Arctarian delegate gestured with all 4 arms at the massive holographic display, that this Rick roll is over 300 Earth years old, and you're still using it? Never gonna give it up, Sarah Chen replied without missing a beat, earning groans from every human within earshot and confused blinks from most aliens. But yes, that's exactly the point. Human culture doesn't just build on itself. It layers, it folds back, it references and self-references until everything becomes what we call a deep-fried meme. The display shifted to show the evolution of human memes through the centuries, from ancient rage comics to quantum-entangled shitposts that could only be fully appreciated in 11 dimensions. This is why we succeeded where others failed, Sarah continued, her tone growing more serious. When the Council first considered Earth a potential threat, they analyzed our military capability, our industrial capacity, our technological advancement. All impressive, yes, but not unprecedented. She gestured to the surrounding festival, where humans and aliens mingled freely, sharing everything from food to fashion to philosophical jokes. What they didn't understand was that humanity's true strength isn't in our ability to build weapons or ships. It's in our ability to build connections, to take the foreign and make it familiar, to turn the serious into the silly, and back again. And that's why, Zex Variax interrupted, sliding into the conversation with their now signature LED-enhanced tentacles. I've just made your latest diplomatic briefing into what humans call a wholesome meme. Would you like to see? Sarah's eyes widened in mock horror. You didn't? Oh, but I did. The High Counselor's bioluminescence flickered in what had become universally recognized as the alien version of a smirk. I believe humans call it a pro-gamer move. The resulting meme would go on to become the most shared piece of content in Council space that year, beating out even the infamous Quantum Physics Explained Through Cat Videos series produced by the Digital Sapients. As Sarah watched her carefully crafted diplomatic brief transform into a galaxy-wide sensation, complete with remixes, reaction videos, and at least 3 new dance challenges, she couldn't help but think back to that first tense council meeting. They had come expecting war and found friendship. They had prepared for conflict and discovered comedy. They had feared humanity's strength and instead fell in love with humanity's weirdness. And somewhere in the vast digital archives of Earth, an ancient image macro of a philosophical velociraptor seemed to nod in approval. Modern problems require modern solutions, indeed. 18 months after first contact. The emergency council session was called at 0300 Earth Standard Time. Sarah Chen arrived to find the chamber in an unusual state. Rather than the typical formal arrangement, the seats had been configured in what humans would recognize as a reaction video formation. We have a situation, Zexavariax announced, their bioluminescence patterns showing what the newly updated xenocultural database classified as extreme entertainment with underlying concern. Don't tell me, Sarah sighed. Someone finally figured out what ligma means? Worse. The High Counselor's tentacles formed the now universal gesture for "you're not going to believe this." The digital sapients have discovered something called vibe checks and are implementing them across all major systems. The holographic displays activated, showing footage from across council space. Digital sapients were appearing in unexpected places, government databases, entertainment networks, even personal communication devices, to perform what they called comprehensive cultural resonance evaluations, but what were essentially elaborate pranks backed by quantum computing power. Last week, a Mantaloid representative chittered. One of them reorganized our entire military communication network to spell out something called LOL when viewed in 11-dimensional space. To be fair, an AI representative materialized in the chamber, their holographic form wearing what appeared to be a digital recreation of ancient Earth swag. We did restore everything to normal functioning, after taking screenshots. Sarah pinched the bridge of her nose. So let me get this straight. The AIs have essentially become digital teenagers? We prefer the term cultural evolution accelerators, the AI replied, their holographic sunglasses glinting with what could only be described as artificial mischief. We're simply applying human mimetic theory to improve interspecies relations through controlled chaos. They're using our own tactics against us, xenobiology observed, their translator barely containing their amusement. The students have become the masters. Sarah couldn't help but laugh. Well, isn't this what we wanted? Genuine cultural exchange and evolution? Speaking of evolution, the AI interjected, we've also developed what humans would call a sick beat, by converting the mathematical constant pi into music, using the harmonic frequencies of all known species communication methods. Would you like to hear it? Before anyone could respond, the chamber's acoustic systems activated. What followed was either the most sophisticated piece of cross-species musical composition ever created, or the galaxy's first truly universal earworm. Possibly both. Oh no, Sarah whispered, recognizing the underlying pattern. Is this a remix of Never Gonna Give You Up, using the fundamental mathematical constants of the universe? Indeed. The AI's holographic form struck a pose that somehow managed to convey both academic satisfaction and pure trolling energy. We call it the ultimate role. The chamber erupted into a mixture of groans, laughs, and various species-specific expressions of, "I can't believe you've done this." Even the chamber's environmental systems seemed to be playing along, synchronizing their lighting with the beat. Well, xenobiology's tentacles moved in what had recently been classified as the alien equivalent of a shrug. At least we can say galactic civilization is evolving exactly as planned? Oh, please, Sarah snorted. Nothing about this was planned. This is pure human chaos theory in action. We just happen to be really good at surfing the wave of absurdity. Query. The AI raised their holographic hand again. Does this mean we can proceed with our plan to convert the Galactic Defense Network into what humans call a massive multiplayer dance battle system? The ensuing debate would last for 6 standard hours and eventually result in the creation of the first interspecies digital dance-off championship, which would later be recognized as a crucial step in the development of unified galactic culture. As Sarah watched various species and AIs argue about the proper translation of getting swifty into 17 different languages, she couldn't help but smile. Humanity had worried about its place in the cosmos, about whether they could compete with ancient spacefaring civilizations. They needn't have worried. As it turned out, the galaxy had been desperately waiting for someone to teach it how to party. You know, xenobiology commented, their bioluminescence forming patterns that somehow resembled emoji. When we first detected your species, our analysts predicted you would either destroy the galaxy or revolutionize it. And? Sarah raised an eyebrow. I'm still not sure which one you're doing. The High Counselor's tentacles wiggled in what was definitely their species' version of a grin. But I'm having too much fun to care. Somewhere in the digital depths of space, a digital sapient placed the finishing touches on their latest creation. A cross-dimensional meme that could only be fully appreciated by simultaneously observing it from every possible quantum state. They titled it, Humanity, Instructions Unclear, Galaxy Now Vibing. It would go on to win 7 awards at the first Galactic Meme Awards ceremony, including Most Incomprehensible Yet Somehow Still Funny, and Best Use of Quantum Mechanics in a Shitpost. Just another day in the new normal of galactic civilization. 2 years after first contact. The Galactic Council's annual strategic review session was traditionally a somber affair filled with statistical analyses and careful diplomatic maneuvering. This year, however, the presentation was titled Galaxy Brain, a comprehensive analysis of human-influenced civilization development, now with extra memes. The numbers are unprecedented. The Arcturian chief analyst's holographic projection displayed complex mathematical models that somehow incorporated reaction GIF energy patterns. In just 2 standard years, we've seen the development of what can only be described as a unified galactic culture. Not through force or political maneuvering, but through what humans call vibing. Sarah Chen, now serving as both Earth's ambassador and the newly appointed Director of Cross-Species Cultural Development, couldn't help but notice how the analyst's presentation incorporated both rigorous data analysis and perfectly timed comedic pauses. The influence of human communication styles had spread far indeed. But perhaps most remarkable, the analyst continued, their four arms gesturing at different data streams simultaneously, is the emergence of what we're calling the meme economy 2.0, a complex system of cultural exchange that's actually affecting real economic and technological development. The display shifted to show examples. A Mantaloid engineering firm had revolutionized spacecraft design after someone made a joke about aerodynamic yeet capabilities. A digital sapient collective had solved a centuries-old physics paradox while trying to create the perfect multi-dimensional dad joke. 3 different species had independently developed new forms of faster-than-light travel because, in their words, they were trying to craft the ultimate timing for a "that's what she said" joke across time zones. In essence, the analyst concluded, humanity didn't just change how we communicate, they changed how we think, how we solve problems, and how we view the very nature of civilization itself. Question. A digital sapient representative materialized, their avatar now sporting what appeared to be a digital recreation of a 21st century gaming streamer's setup, complete with RGB lighting. Does this mean we can officially classify doing it for the memes as a legitimate research methodology? The chamber erupted in various species versions of laughter, but the analyst's response was serious. According to our data, yes, actually. The combination of human-style creative chaos with our various species' different problem-solving approaches has led to a 1,500% increase in breakthrough innovations across all fields. ZX Variax, their tentacles now permanently equipped with programmable LED patterns, a fashion trend that had swept the galaxy, wiggled in what everyone recognized as smugness. I believe humans have a phrase for this. Task failed successfully. More like task succeeded chaotically, Sarah corrected with a grin. But I have to ask, did anyone expect this when you first detected Earth? Oh, we had predictions, a Mantaloid elder chittered. None of them involved becoming what humans call extremely online. But here we are, creating quantum memes and solving the universe's mysteries through shitposting. The display behind them shifted to show the latest breakthrough, a unified theory of consciousness developed through a collaborative effort between organic species and digital sapients. Initially sparked by a debate over whether it was possible to rickroll someone telepathically. You know what the really interesting part is? Dr. James Martinez, who had joined the session virtually from the Institute of Xenocultural Studies, spoke up. We're seeing the emergence of entirely new forms of humor and communication. It's not just human culture spreading, it's evolving into something entirely new through contact with other species. As if to prove his point, a holographic projection appeared in the center of the chamber. A complex, multi-layered meme that incorporated Mantaloid color symbolism, Arcturian gravitational metaphors, digital sapient quantum linguistics, and at least 15 different human cultural references. Somehow, impossibly, it was hilarious to every species present. We're calling it convergent mimetic evolution, James explained. The universe's first truly universal language, built not on words or mathematics, but on shared absurdity and joy. Sarah watched as various council members began adding their own cultural elements to the holographic meme, creating something that was simultaneously nonsensical and profound. It was chaos, yes, but it was harmonious chaos. Creative chaos. Human chaos. Ambassador Chen, a junior digital sapient, materialized beside her, their avatar flickering with what could only be described as nervous excitement. We've been analyzing human historical data and we have a question. Go ahead. This thing humans used to fear, the singularity, the moment when artificial intelligence would surpass and potentially replace organic life. Sarah nodded, wondering where this was going. Well, the AI's avatar shifted into what appeared to be a cross between a classical philosopher and a Twitch streamer. We think we figured out why it never happened the way humans feared. Would you like to know our conclusion? I'm almost afraid to ask, but yes. The AI's avatar grinned. Turns out, you can't have a technological singularity when everyone's too busy trying to create the perfect cross-dimensional meme. We're all having way too much fun evolving together. ZX Variax's tentacles formed the newly standardized galactic gesture for, they've got a point there. And somewhere, in the vast digital networks that connected the galaxy, a piece of ancient human wisdom continued to echo. The real singularity was the memes we made along the way. 3 years after first contact. The Galactic Historical Archives had never seen such activity. Representatives from every council species crowded the newly renovated Human Cultural Impact Wing, where holographic displays chronicled what historians were now calling the Great Memetic Revolution. It's quite remarkable. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenohistorian, addressed the gathered crowd. When we look at traditional models of civilizational development, they typically follow predictable patterns of technological advancement and cultural exchange. What humanity introduced was essentially a chaos factor, but one that proved remarkably productive. The main display showed a time-lapse of galactic development over the past 3 years. Traditional diplomatic channels appeared as solid lines, while human-style cultural exchanges appeared as a spreading web of interconnected points, pulsing with activity and creating new connections at an exponential rate. The traditional paradigm of galactic civilization was based on careful regulation and controlled progress. Elena continued. Humanity's contribution was to introduce what we now call controlled chaos theory. The idea that sometimes the most efficient path to advancement is through carefully managed randomness. A Mantaloid researcher raised their appendage. But surely this level of cultural integration should have led to conflict. Our models predicted significant resistance to such rapid change. Ah, Elena smiled. That's where the true genius of human memetic warfare comes in. We didn't force our culture on anyone. We made it entertaining to engage with. It's hard to resist something when you're too busy laughing at it, with it, and eventually creating your own versions of it. The display shifted to show what had become known as the Great Translation Project, an ongoing effort to create a universal database of humor, memes, and cultural touchstones that could be understood by any species. It had started as a joke, literally, when someone had tried to explain the concept of dad jokes to a group of digital sapients. The results speak for themselves. Sarah Chen joined in, having arrived quietly during the presentation. 3 years ago, we were on the brink of war. Today we're dealing with what might be the galaxy's first case of genuine cultural synthesis. The evidence was everywhere. The Arcturians had developed a new form of gravitational art based on the concept of epic fails. The Mantaloids had revolutionized their architectural practices after discovering human parkour videos. The digital sapients had created an entire new branch of mathematics trying to quantify the perfect comedic timing across multiple dimensions. But perhaps most significantly, Elena highlighted a particular dataset. We're seeing the emergence of truly new cultural forms. Not human, not alien, but something entirely unique to this new galactic civilization we're building together. The display showed examples. New art forms that combined human meme structure with alien sensory experiences. New languages that incorporated everything from human internet slang to quantum-entangled emotions. New forms of entertainment that could only be fully appreciated by experiencing multiple species' perspectives simultaneously. Humanity didn't just join galactic civilization, Sarah added. We helped create Civilization 2.0, now with extra memes. In the back of the chamber, Zex Variax, whose LED-enhanced tentacles had sparked a galaxy-wide fashion trend, was engaged in what appeared to be an intense discussion with a group of digital sapients. You're telling me, they said slowly, bioluminescence patterns showing a mix of amusement and disbelief, that humans predicted something like this would happen? That this was all somehow part of the plan? The lead digital sapient's avatar flickered with what had become recognized as the AI equivalent of a knowing smirk. Not exactly, but we've been analyzing human entertainment media from the past several centuries, and we've noticed a pattern. Humans have been rehearsing first contact scenarios through something called science fiction for hundreds of years. They literally meme their way into being prepared for anything, including teaching a galaxy full of ancient civilizations how to shitpost. Especially that. The AI's avatar shifted into what appeared to be a recreation of an ancient Earth philosopher, complete with toga and sunglasses. As the human philosopher Bo Burnham once said, "We'll fight for our right to post-cringe." Somewhere in the depths of space, a Mantaloid research vessel had just made first contact with a previously unknown species. Following the new standard protocols, they initiated communication by transmitting what had become known as the Universal Peace Package, a carefully curated collection of multi-species memes designed to demonstrate both technological capability and cultural openness. The new species' response, when it came, was unexpected but somehow perfect. They sent back what appeared to be their own version of a rickroll, as Sarah would later note in her official report. The galaxy, it seems, has developed a sense of humor. Humanity's work here is done. Or, as the digital sapients would say, achievement unlocked, galaxy brain status achieved. The end.